Yeah.
One of my harshest stories from dental school, I'll just touch on this story, was one night after a long day of school and professors telling me that my work was trash because they would just be like, do it over. I'm
Whoa.
walking home at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night because we would be in the labs late. And this was during the time that Trump was running for president, and
Oh
and
Lord.
people were being a little extra. And so I'm walking down the street. My house was literally not even 5 minutes from Tufts. And this guy starts chasing me and calling me a dirty N word. And he's
Whoa.
like, "You dirty nigger!" Like, and running after me. So I bust out running, and like I get to my door, I unlock it, I get it in, and I I didn't realize it, but I had never been called the N word in my life. And this was the
Wow.
first time. And
Whoa.
so I'm in my second year. So that week I had a huge practical where you had to make dentures in a period of time. I was so traumatized. I kept running in my head, I'm a dirty N word. I'm a dirty N word. So here I am. I'm beating myself up at school, thinking I don't belong here. And then even outside of school, people thought I was trash. So when I tell you, I've never failed anything. I went to my practical the next day or so and completely blanked out. I burnt myself with a hot tool and failed.
Whoa.
And it was so
Whoa.
I ended up getting like therapy because I had to like deal with
Whoa.
like I never like
That had never happened. Yeah.
I've done what passive racism, but to deal with like blunt racism in my
Nah.
face,
Someone
it
just,
it,
yeah.
it was
That's
too
traumatic.
much. It
Yeah.
was traumatic.
And then chasing
And
you at night at 10, 11 o'clock at night. That's,
yeah.
jeez.
And at the time I was dating a white man, and he was like, "Who cares? Those are just words."
Oh my
And
God. Jeez.
and he didn't understand, and I had to deal with that. And then I had to deal with the fact that I failed something. Like, so here's my worst nightmare that I was
Right.
trying so hard not to do, and I failed. But again, it made me stronger. I spent the whole summer with the professor that I failed that practical with. I learned how to do dentures, and that was one of my biggest strong suits. So it's just to say, like, some of your biggest failing moments can really
Yeah.
catapult you into what some of your greatest strengths. But that
Yeah.
was a hard moment in dental school. I'm not gonna lie.
I have a, so the parallel that I have with that. I was in Palm Beach. I was in Florida. I was in pharmacy school when the whole Trayvon Martin thing happened.
Hmm.
Right. And if you remember, that happened. He was in Florida. And
Yeah.
I remember, I tell this story. I was in pharmacy school, and I remember when the verdict came out. You know, the guy, the murderer went to trial. The verdict came back not guilty, and it was just this. It was kind of like how I describe it now. One of my, a younger friend, a friend of mine, called me a few months ago with when the Breonna Taylor um, non-indictment, announcement came out that the
Hmm.
officers weren't going to be. And he called me, and he was just really upset, and like, hey, like, why didn't why can't there be justice? And it kind of felt like that
Yeah.
night for us, when going through this. I remember I was on the phone, or maybe messaging one of my friends from undergrad, and we were frustrated, we were upset, we're like, wow, like, how can you kill a black kid
Yeah.
and be found not guilty? It was just, we were going through that, so many emotions. And I remember I'm in pharmacy school, and I'm on Facebook, and I see, as we're like, me and my friends we're heartbroken, I see some of my classmates, my friends on Facebook posting, yay, stand your ground, yay, like celebrating this verdict that just came out. And I was just like, whoa, like, that, the same thing that is, like, for us is heartbreaking, and we're like dying, over here,
Yeah.
you are celebrating this. And
Yeah.
these are people that you're sitting with in class for however many years, and
Yeah.
like,
No,
and it
that was
comes up.
hard. I was definitely like when Trump was being elected, like there was definitely a divide in the class,
Wow.
and it was rough. Like
Yeah.
it was so rough because yeah, you spend there's not that many people in your class. You spend all the
Yeah.
time with them. You have
Yeah.
like Facebook groups. And when you see these things and it's
You
like,
realize that, yeah,
you
they don't.
realize like you're breaking bread all day with people who don't have your best interest in mind. And to make it worse, like these are future healthcare professionals, right?
Right.
And so you're like, you're going to go out in the world and serve people who look like me and have all this biased opinion. And you don't see gun safety and these things as public health issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is
That's
very hard cookie to kind of eat.
it's great. It's ridiculous. But I had to deal with. But I was glad because at least now you know.
Yeah.
You know.
One thing I would say, like in my growth as a human being and in moving to Texas, I would say when I was younger, I was more so part of like the cancel culture and like people who don't necessarily agree with the way that I see the world.
Yeah.
I would just be like, nah, yeah, X marks the dot, stay away from them. But in moving to Houston, and I've worked in a lot of different offices, one of which was kind of in the countryside in Montgomery County, which, you know, even voted for Trump in the second election by a lot. I've really come to see the other side and realize that they don't have these opinions necessarily because some people are terrible humans, but it's just the environment in the media and the information that they're getting is just so different than the information that we get, right?
Right.
And how do I change how they think as I grow older? I'm like, how do I show people our truths so that they can empathize? Because what I'm feeling sometimes, I mean, it's kind of it's kind of touchy to say this, but we're creating these two separate Americas sometimes. And like which ones of us are willing, again, like I used to walk that line and create a bridge so that they can understand our side.
Right.
I'm one of those people because I don't mind walking that bridge. Like I will sit down with a country, love to shoot, love to hunt, like country boy, and we can have a good conversation. You're going to hear me. They're going to respect me. But not everybody is willing to sit at that table and have that discussion. And that's okay.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, and there's definitely, there has to be this reckoning and this, you know, coming together, because we have to, like you said, it's like two different Americas.
And this ties back to becoming a really good medical professional. I think the way that a lot of times we educated people look at the world is just so us-centric. We think that everyone thinks like us. Like, even though you know you're more educated, but you think that everyone will come to the same conclusion as you, or people think the same things that you think are important are not. And the reality is that you have to pause your preconceived notions and realize what is important to others is so diverse. I thought everyone, like, especially growing up in science, like science is the type of religion. I don't care what anyone says, right? We believe in science, you know, and a lot of times people see science as like facts, but no, facts are basically agreed upon conclusions, right? And so I think a lot of times, especially us coming from medicine and science-based, we think that everyone's just gonna do what the science and the facts tells us. And actually, we see the world as humans in the way that fits the narratives in our head the best. And that we have to kind of, I don't know, that's the one thing I think I want to preach to any healthcare provider listening to this, is that really put yourself in your patient's shoes and other people's shoes, and maybe we can get rid of some of this elitism. We'll be able to have conversations with our patients and people so that they better understand the knowledge that we're trying to bestow on them that will make their lives better.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. You hear a lot. Other than Goki, I had another dear friend of mine who's a dentist come on the podcast, and she's doing so great. She has a pediatric dentist, you know, practice that she opened up, the only one in her part of town here in Houston. And one of the things that she mentioned and that we talked about a little bit was kind of what she sees as these microaggressions.
Yeah.
when dealing with patients, and people that see her and that assume that she can't be the dentist because
Yeah.
she's this little black girl, that walked in the room. I'm sure you've dealt with that. I'm sure you've seen that. What has been some of your experiences with, that, microaggressions of people that don't believe that, you could be so educated. Oh, you're so young. Oh, you're, blah, you're this, you're that.
Yeah, I mean, I used to take a lot of offense to it when I first started practicing. I would definitely say it used to unnerve me and get me, like, knock me off my flow. Like, I would be presenting and stuff, and then someone would be like, "You look really young to be here," blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, and like, stop. And a lot of dentistry is educating your patients so that they do the treatment that you think is recommended for them. And it's not like, a lot of times they don't realize they need it until it hurts, but we want to prevent that pain, right? And
Right.
so I had to really learn how to stand in my faith and be like, yeah, I am young. Like, sometimes I would say to them, yeah, black don't crack. So then they think I'm older, but it's really like, yeah, I have great skin. Like,
That's
like
awesome.
I dish it back. Like, if you're gonna come to me
Yeah.
and question me, like, I'll dish it right back to you. And a lot of times they take it very well.
Great. Yeah.
When
No,
I
they
give
should.
them a little bit of attitude. With like my Caucasian male patients, I sometimes do get a little bit of button heads. But I've just come to this. I'm not for everyone. If you like me, great. We can have a great relationship and would be a great provider. And if not, so what? A lot of times I change my hair a lot. I wear nails. I'm very authentic to who I am as a person. And I've realized that patients trust me because they see me being me. Sometimes I drop a cuss word every now and then. I'm a little bit of inappropriate, but when you come to me, you
Nice.
know you're getting the truth
You know what
because
you're
I'm
getting.
not
Yeah.
trying to be something that I'm not.
Yeah.
And when I realized when I stopped trying to be like my mentors, I stopped trying to be like other dentists and just started being myself, I get more patient acceptance.
That's awesome.
Always. And
That's
so
awesome.
I've really leaned into that. And you'll see that across the dental field, there's just been this change of the top providers are dentists who are authentically themselves.
That's awesome.
Everybody, yeah. Or even my patients, I'll be like, why'd you come to me? They're like, oh, I saw you roller skating on Saturday night on your Instagram, and I thought that was really cool. So yeah, I'm here.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys have told me about, I know Goki has mentioned about this dentist out in Dallas that,
Yeah, he's a rapper. He recently got shot, so that sucks. But yeah, he's him. Like, there's some other dentists out in Miami. But
that just,
like,
that put this personality, their person, that showcase their personality, and it just, it's what draws patients and people in.
People don't want to go see robots. Like, they don't want to deal with that. And excuse me, and thankfully medical and dental schools have noticed this, and now say you're applying to go to one of these professional schools, they're more likely to look at you like as a whole rounded applicant.
Person,
like, who is this person? What have they done? What do they bring to the table? And it's not just about your grades anymore.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's get back on okay, so you graduate and you come to Houston. You wanted to get a job. You had this horrible experience ending dentist school, and you wanted to get out of Boston. You got out of Boston. You came to Houston, a great city of Houston, the great state of Texas. It taught you. It's taught you a few things. But so how did what was your experience as far as professionally, your first job, your how did you go from there?
Okay, so graduating dental school, I didn't feel like I need to do a residency. So as a dentist, you have a choice if you want to do a residency or not. I'm left-handed, and so when I was in dental school, not a lot of teachers would help me because it would mean switching everything around. And so I was pretty independent most of school. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go work. If I have some mentorship, I'll be good. So I go to work for this guy. He had 3 offices, and he basically just dumped me in the office and was like, toodaloo, I gotta go take care of the other offices. If you need me, call me.
Wow.
So I thought I was getting mentorship. Turns out I wasn't. And so it was kind of like a do or die situation where I just learned how to figure things out on my own. And I ended up
Wow.
working, he had me working, I signed a contract for him. So he was allowed to tell me when and where I was allowed to work. And so I was working 6 days a week for almost a year. It was
Wow.
insane. If I wasn't so young, I don't know if I would have ever been able to do it. And I was seeing about 30 patients a day at least. It was
Whoa.
kind of a Medicaid, like
Yeah.
children, just like budget
Just
dentistry,
churning them
just
out.
turning
Yeah.
people in, toothaches, whatever. I like half the
Had it
patients didn't
all.
even speak English.
Wow.
They had to translate everything, and it was hard. I'm not gonna lie. Like some days I'd just come home and cry because I was like, I'm stuck here. like,
Whoa.
um, and so I worked. I picked up my speed though. When I wasn't working, I tried to travel to make my life a little bit better, but it was very difficult. When I got about a year in, the owner, so my contract originally it said if I met certain benchmarks, I would get to become part owner because I did want
Yeah.
to one day be an owner. It wasn't the top of my list, but I was like, oh, this would be cool. So it was like, okay, if you work through these steps, you'll become owner. I killed those steps. I made the production. I was like, okay, I'm ready to buy in. He was like, hold up, what makes you think that you can be my partner? I was like,
Whoa.
skirt this contract. And from that moment, our
What did,
relationship
wait, what did he say
eroded.
when you brought it up? Like it's in the contract.
Exactly. And he was just like, I don't really think so. But I was like, you told me I need to make this much money for the office a year. I did it. Like, you told me I need to do like read these books. I was reading leadership books. I was doing all the work and he was just resisting. Um, and so our relationship really fell apart. And then it got to the point where we weren't communicating nicely to one another. And then there was a straw that broke the camel's back. One of my managers, they had a death in their family and he wouldn't let them take time off. And I kind of lost it because it's one thing to abuse me as a doctor and make me work a lot and kind of do that. But to watch the staff have to go through misery, it was too much for me.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to be there for 2 years. I broke my contract. It wasn't pretty. Like him and I fought about it. And then there's luckily in Texas, there's this app called Cloud, and it's basically Uber for dentists, and I was able to just find work by the day. So I would just go to offices and be a temp dentist. And I did this for about 6 months, and I drove all over Houston from like Galveston all the way up to like Conroe, Willis, like
Whoa.
you name it. I was just
Whoa.
working for the paychecks, just like all
Jeez.
over Katy, Midtown, out in Channelview. I was
Wow.
everywhere. And it was such a hard time in my life. Like I leaned on God so much. Like I would just be in my car listening to my Jesus playlist, being like, oh God, where are you taking me today? What are we
Aw.
doing today? And through that process, during that time where I was free, I got to go cover for my now mentor, Dr. Ellis. So
Okay.
she was taking a trip and I was like, hey, I'm temping right now. Like, I wouldn't mind being stable for a week.
Yeah.
And so I go work for her for a week and I fell in love with what she had created in her office. So for you guys don't know, my mentor, Dr. Simone Ellis, she's a Black woman. She's a dentist. She's amazing. She's been practicing here in Houston for the last 11 years. She built her office from scratch when she was 26 years old, right out of
Whoa.
school.
Whoa.
So
That's
she's been
awesome.
killing it, and she's a cosmetic dentist, and most of her clientele is Black. And I was like, I love this. This is feeding my soul. I loved it so much. And so
How
from
did
that
you,
point,
was it just through that, cloud app that you met her, or did you know her prior?
so I met her. So I used to go to camp as a kid, and one of my camp counselors when I was a child is a dentist now, and he was like, hey, Mikey, I see that you're moving to Houston. Go find Dr. Simone Ellis. So she was doing a talk on veneers. I showed up to her talk. I was like, I need to go to this. I go to her talk. I meet her. And at that moment, I was like, hey, I heard like people, I was asking about her, like through other people that I know in the area. And they're like, oh, she needs a doctor cover for her. Why don't you offer? And I was like, okay. So go to the talk. I'm like, I'll cover for you if you ever need help. And I did it. And that's how I ended up meeting her. But because I had that backing of her classmate, she, I think, took me a little bit under her wing because I wasn't just some stranger off the street. Like, you know, so networking just tells you, like, people think like it's all grades and it's all
no, it's who you know.
All that stuff. Like, this world moves by who you know. You don't know who's in rooms talking about you when you're not in those rooms. And so it's so important to meet as many people and touch as many people as you can so that people can hustle for you in the background.
What about like while you were in this period of 6 months, you know, going to different offices? I imagine as crazy and as hard and difficult as that must have been, you also had the chance to meet a lot of people and, you know, maybe meet a lot of owners, meet a lot of dental, you know, dentist owners, and maybe that, how did that ever turn out to anything, you know, beyond that?
Yeah, I would say like I got to meet a lot of owners, and it really, I would say the biggest thing that I got out of it was how to sell myself and my worth. I didn't know that, being that I had struggled for the past year doing volume dentistry, I was very fast compared to other dentists my age, or just came out of school. I was able to do things faster. I was able to, I knew how to hustle. And a lot of times, if you come out of residency, like Goke the other night we were talking about, they're used to seeing one patient at a time, little by little. It's a completely different ball game. So I got to meet owner docs, and they would want to hire me, but because I knew where I wanted to be, I said no. And I was holding space to become part of Dr. Ellis's team one day. And because I knew where I wanted to go, I kept saying no, but it taught me that I am valuable. I have things to bring to the table, even though I'm a young doctor. So that time in my life really like knocked my imposter syndrome out. Like, so I'm very thankful for it. And it taught me all the different ways that people practice dentistry, what I liked, what I didn't like, and everything in between. So I'm very thankful because a lot of dentists don't get to go into that many offices ever in their life. So it was really a privilege.
So you got to see, I'm sure, a lot of things, you know, what worked, what doesn't work. And, you know, this is, you know, best practices from here and there, and just kind of pull them all together, maybe into, you know, whatever, you know, if you open up your own, or when you open up your own, or buy into something, or, you know, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so I eventually ended up settling at an office that would let me work there without a contract. And I really just held space because I really wanted to work with Dr. Ellis. So I worked part-time, and then I would go shadow her. I would offer to cover days with her, work with her. Like, I was being annoying.
Wow.
I really wanted her to understand that this is what I wanted to do. And so we were planning on having me work at her office, but then COVID hit, and there were all these things that she wanted me to do, classes that they wanted to take. And I had a laundry list of them, and they were my goals for 2020. And when the pandemic hit, I was like, damn it, like everything I wanted to learn to be a good dentist, I can't do. And because I had those things written down, even though the pandemic hit, I made them happen this past year. Like, I learned how to do Invisalign. I learned how to do the best veneers ever. I took so many courses because I still had that idea that even when this pandemic is over, I still want to be that dentist that I had sought out to be at the beginning of the year. And
was it her that told you, like, this is what you need to do, you know, as far as these classes, I need you to take these classes, blah, blah, blah? Or how did you get that list of, you know, these?
It was her. She told me, because we had set out, she had given me a guideline to the things that she was expecting from me if I was ever to become her associate. And it was hard. It was like 60 hours of continuing education. It was all these
Wow.
expensive courses. It was buying like the camera system that she has. Like that ended up costing me like $3,000. Like it was a lot of things. And trying to make those things happen during a pandemic when we're not making as much money, it was so hard.
Wow.
But I ended up doing over 100 hours of CE this year. I ended up paying for all these things, traveling to New York, making it happen. And that's why I'm in the position that I am today, because she realized that I was willing to put in that work even when the world was shut down.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so let's talk about that now, as far as like where you are now, and you know, where your passion lies, you know, this niche that you've kind of found and that you're getting more and more into. Can you tell us a little bit about, I know you talked a little bit about the office and how it's, you know, she's, you know, it's Black owned, you know, primarily Black clientele, this and that, but you know, can you go more into kind of what the practice is and what that is?
Yeah. So I would say like cosmetic dentistry has existed for a very long time now, like veneers, like crowns, all that stuff has been around, but it's never been directed towards Black people, because I mean, a lot of people made the assumption that we don't have the money for it, right?
Okay.
And so now we're in a new era where
Wait. But didn't Paul Wall and all these
that's grills, though. That's grills, though. That's
kidding,
different.
I'm kidding,
That's
it's a joke.
ratchetness.
Oh man.
And so what we are trying to do here, and then not to mention, so I would say in the last 10 years, there has been this like push to market towards Black patients, cosmetics, but it's been done in a predatory way.
Okay.
So we have doctors out in Colombia, kind of like trying to lure people to Colombia because they're saying it's cheaper. We have doctors here in the US who are luring patients to get work that are not necessarily the best of the best, but they're paying really expensive price tags. So Dr. Ellis and I, we really wanted to bring the best of the best in terms of technology, the labs, the materials that we use, the experience to our community, because we deserve that. We're very hardworking people. We deserve the best. We don't deserve to be paying all this money for any subpartness. And so that's really the idea and the vision that we have, is how do we elevate the knowledge of our community to know that this is what they're worthy of. This is
Right.
what the best feels like, and to
Right.
not accept anything other than that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I know you've called it luxury cosmetic dentistry, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and the other part of that is you're great with, you know, the social media marketing, you know, and we talked a little bit about, you know, just a few days ago, you know, being on Instagram Live and, you know, kind of doing a procedure while on Instagram, but you've been able to kind of market that, you know, in a really great way, you know. How did you, or can you talk a little bit about that? And, you know,
So for marketing, I mean, I'm just being myself. I think so. What I'm doing is what's called personality driven marketing. So when people, or personality driven dentistry, I've coined this term because you can go to a dentist you can go on Google, you find a dentist, you don't really care who they are. You're just like, oh, I'm going to go get work done. But when people are coming to my office, they're coming to see us specifically. And so I just put all of myself out there. Yeah, I just put myself out there. And so my patients know what they're kind of getting when they come through the door. And that's what's helping my page grow. My page is growing very organically. There are other dentists out here and other people out here who are paying for followers. They're paying for all these big marketing stuff, but I've really cracked the code. I was just like, just be yourself. And literally I've watched my followers double. Like once I've actually committed to consistently being myself online, I've seen my followers double. And like
awesome.
every day, people are just coming and they're genuine people. They're not like robots and whatnot.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Where do you, can you talk a little bit about how you're kind of positioning yourself and learning, and, you know, what it's taken to kind of become more of an expert and, you know, carve out this niche for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, so it's two things. So it's taking the time to learn. Like I said, I talked about doing a lot of CEs. I would say one of the best dentists in this country is this gentleman called Dr. Appa. But most of his clients are models and like very affluent people here in the US, in Dubai, in LA. And so we've gone, Dr. Ellis and I have both gone and learned from him, but we're doing it here in Texas.
Yeah,
So
nice.
just learning what the best are doing, um, networking so that we can understand the trade secrets. There's a lot of secrets out here that unless you know the right people, they're not going to tell you. So taking the time to
Right.
get to know people who are in those positions. And then um marketing in a way. So photography. So for example, I've been working on my photography skills because if people don't know what you're doing, they can't see
Yeah.
the before and apples. They're not going to come to you. So that's something that I'm spending so much time. I never thought I'd be doing photography as a dentist. I'm like,
Yeah.
be sitting here up all night with my Nikon, like trying to figure out all these settings. I'm like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
Um, and I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot. It is a lot. I probably spend um a lot more time than your average dentist on social media doing work. I probably spend more time doing these talks and things like that because I want people to know who I am. And so that means sacrificing TV, workout, like I do
Yeah.
workout every morning. But that's sacrificing a lot of like pleasure time to do this. I work on the weekends. I'm building what's it called? I do photo shoots on the weekends. I go out to markets. If you see me sometimes, I do a lot of work in the plant industry. Like I love plants. So networking with other Black people who are small business owners, selling things and whatnot, and just getting out there and people realize and being able to relate to me, and then them wanting to come see me. And it's a full-time job. So being myself is a full-time job.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
absolutely that's amazing. Um, can we talk a little bit about this mentorship that if someone, and obviously we've mentioned it, but you've been able to connect with, Dr. Ellis, who's your mentor, and,
Mm-hmm.
kind of, learn, from her, and you both going and, learning from, others that are at the top of the game,
Yeah.
how important was that in your journey?
It's everything. You can only get so far on your own. I think that's in any industry. If you think you
Yeah.
can do it all yourself, like you're gonna get stuck eventually. And so for me, I always advise people find the people who are doing what you want to do and try to be of service to them. I think a lot of times in mentorship, or even for me, people are like, can you be my mentor? Like off the bat, like go message me, like, can you be my mentor? Like that is the worst thing you could ever do. Like, why don't you try to build a relationship? And once you focus on the relationship building, the mentorship is so easy. They want to be your mentor because they want to invest in you. Dr. Ellis adores me because I teach her stuff all the time. We have a 10-year age gap. So I'm constantly showing her stuff and pushing her out of her box. And she thanks me for that. And then she pushes me out of my box and guides me. And so it's a symbiotic relationship instead of it being a lot of times it's a one-way relationship,
One-sided
one-sided
giving,
relationship.
yeah.
You're giving into someone and there's nothing that you're getting back. And so all my mentors, I uplift them, I put them on a pedestal, I make them know that I love them and I care for them, and I anything they need me to do, I will do for them. And that's why that a lot of my success comes from that. Because Dr. Ellis isn't the only mentor. I have tons of mentors. Like I have them in all sorts of high places, very diverse set of mentors, but I've done amazing things and like big projects for each and every one of them. Ooh, you went mute. I think you pressed something.
Yeah, and if someone were to, looking for mentors, how does one approach a mentor? I know you talked about, before, you you had this, kind of you had someone that, introduced you to her in a way, one of her classmates, but beyond that, you said you were hitting her up. You were, what were some of the things that you did to really show her that you were invested and ready to, commit and do what she had told you was ready, that you needed to do?
I would say showing up, like being persistent. Like, I think a lot of time mentees, they think, so if you're a mentor, you're usually very busy. I don't care what you're doing. You're usually excelling in some way. If people want you to be their mentor, you usually have a full plate. And so I think a lot of times mentees, they think they put the relationship on the mentor, but the mentee should be the one that's like holding the relationship. And so it's like consistently being like, okay, I'm going to hit this person up. I'm going to visit them. I'm going to offer up, like constantly showing up. And then you'll see some of that pour back, or having questions and like having things to bring. Like, I have mentees right now. Like, I have one gentleman right now who is my personal little mentee. He was introduced to me by somebody, but he comes to the office twice a week. He brings me things to look at. Like, I've watched his, like, we're on draft number 10 of his personal statement. Like, and every time he comes back, I can see the work that he's put in, and now he has this beautiful personal statement. And now seeing that he puts in the work and takes criticism very well, I'm willing to keep pouring into him because I know we'll get places together. So
that's amazing. For me, I've got a guy that I mentor. He's he was my tech. I hired him at one of my previous hospitals, and just seeing, the enthusiasm and, someone who wanted to be where you are. He told me how he wants to go to pharmacy school. He wants to, become a pharmacist. And, he actually had, ambition, and he wanted to learn. He wanted to, be better. He wanted to, continue his education. Whereas I didn't really have any of the other technicians that were approaching me in the same way and saying, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. And so I definitely took the time out to pour into him as much as I could, and to tell him what I know, things that would help him, and kind of direct him, and and so it's great. It's amazing to be able to have someone that is looking up to you, and you're able to say, hey, look, here's what I think you should do, here's what, and just give some type of direction, especially when they don't have that anywhere else.
And realizing that not everybody's a good fit as a mentee or a mentor. Like, if you're not hungry, I'm not gonna relate to you because I'm a very hungry person. And so if you don't come at me that same energy, or I'm a better mentor for people who are generally doing very well and want to be the best of the best. So if you're coming to me so you can be the best possible, I'm really good. I'm not really good with people who are half-ass or who are kind of failing, because I can't relate to you, because I hate to say this, but like the grades, all that stuff, like that stuff was the easy part for me. I want people who are struggling mentally and how to position themselves in vision setting and other things like that. And so getting a better hand of what is your mentor's story? What did they struggle with? Like asking them those questions. Maybe they're good for you, maybe they're not.
Yeah. That's awesome. Why don't we talk about, I think we mentioned it a little bit, but the mentorship kind of class that, you're developing with your mentor, and, I don't know if you're open to talking about it.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, so this mentee, so it's going to be like a mentee masterclass. We're mostly focusing on women.
Yeah, that's great.
We really want to, because that's most of the part who reaches out to us for mentorship is women, especially Black women. And so our goal is to create a community of women who lift each other up, who vision set, goal set, and kind of held each other accountable throughout the year in doing these things. We also are going to be discussing a lot of things that we have issues with. Like we're going to go into like say imposter syndrome in death, how to overcome that, networking, finding mentorship, like all these things that we've been talking about even on this call that a lot of people ask me about on a day-to-day basis. Those are things that we're going to dive into, and it'll be cool because you have my perspective as a new doc, and you also have her perspective as someone who's been in the game for a little bit longer. So we're so excited.
Is it going to be just dentists, or just
No,
or all?
I mean, at first, I think we're gonna focus on baby dentists or anybody, dentists in general, wannabe dentist. But I think eventually it'll be open up to anybody. But we're gonna gauge where.
Oh, it goes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So it sounds like a little bit like coaching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
It's great. I do a little bit of that.
Yeah, so I can say Dr. Ellis really coached me. I would say before, like we're being next to her over time, I've become a stronger version of myself. And so, and we would love to give that energy off. Because what I'm noticing online, there are a lot of dentists, there's a few dentists that have mentorship programs as well, or there's other leaders who have mentorship programs, but some of them are charging a lot of money, and so we wanted to make it more cost effective, not as expensive, because we believe that everybody deserves that knowledge.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Can we talk about kind of some of your visions going forward, like goals now that you're at this place, you're practicing in a great office where you're next to a great dentist and mentor, you're here now kind of where you wanted to be when you left school. It's not a corporate structure. You have kind of this flexibility to be creative and kind of be yourself, and you're being pushed to be a better version of yourself, to be a better doctor, a better dentist, and to be at the top of your field. Being there now, what are your goals now? Looking, 10, 15, whatever, 5, 10 years from now, what are the new goals?
Yeah, so we really want to grow the brand Smile Design Studios. I'm hoping that in 10 years from now that we're in a new space that is bigger. We really want to become leaders in just facial cosmetics. So something that we're starting to offer is Botox, fillers, things like that. Work with plastic surgeons, work with nurses and things like that. So say someone comes in and you're like, okay, I want a facelift, or I just want to look the best that I can. What is everything we can do that we plan all that from a holistic? Because what we're seeing is that a lot of people are getting a lot of cosmetic work done on their face. We want to make sure that people are doing it in a safe, managed, and properly planned out way. To get to feel like their most beautiful self. And so you'll see me continue to push in that direction, grow the practice in that direction. I will continue to be myself. I'm hopefully, like I always tell people, my vision is to be the Ariana Grande of dentistry. Like I want to be like a pop star dentist. Like I want to be able to just be myself, be so like powerful in that, and still have patients come to see me and respect me professionally. So awesome. You just continue to see us lean into that. So I'm really excited.
Yay, that's awesome. I mean, you're doing it. Keep going. I know when we had spoken before, you talked about wanting to kind of take this, and kind of do it outside of the country, and bring it to places that were underserved. Is that still a goal of yours?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that like Black wealth isn't just in the US. If anything, it's like in Africa. And so I've seen a lot of dentists bring their practices, like Dr. Appa practiced in Dubai and whatnot. And I'm like, wow. Why can't we do these things in Nigeria or Ghana? Like those are like Black wealth, like capitals of the world. Yeah. Like nobody else is doing this here. I mean, maybe they are, but I haven't seen it. So how do we bring our brand and everything we're offering to a world stage? And that is also something. So if you know any investors that wants to do it with me now, let's go.
Hey, look, hey, we'll talk more offline.
Yeah, because I mean, I can't even imagine what the bureaucratic shenanigans will be to try to get through
Yeah.
all that. But I hope to do something like that. I would
So
say
you're
within
kind
10
of
years.
you're kind of the Dr. Miami of dentistry.
I'm trying to be.
Trying to be. That's
Baby Dr.
awesome.
Miami.
Baby
Yeah.
Dr. Miami of dentistry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's awesome. You need that. You know, you don't really, you know, and with the, you know, prevalence of social media now, you know, that's kind of how the world knows of Dr. Miami. You know,
Yeah.
that's, you know, but you don't really, I don't know of the dentist that is that, you know. I'm
Yeah.
only
I mean,
hearing
there
about it
are,
from you.
I mean,
from
yeah.
you.
I mean, Dr. Appa, what I'm trying to be is like the Black Dr. Appa. That's, if you ever look him up, that's kind of where I'm going. He's like a globe triber. He's like on private jets going across the
Oh,
country. He has several different offices. That's what I'm trying to do, but I want it to be Black. And so
yeah.
hopefully the community takes very good reception to me, and people stop flying to Colombia to get their teeth done.
Yeah. And you come to Dr. Joy. She's here. She's doing it. She's
Yeah.
great, you know,
Or
and
next thing I know,
she'll,
maybe I'll just open up a clinic in Colombia.
hey, take it there. If people want to go there for sure. Hey,
That's where you want to go. Let's go.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Before we got online, we were talking about, you know, health literacy,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, just kind of, you know, what we see as healthcare professionals, and how, you know, and I think we talked about it a little bit when we got into, you know, kind of a bit of the political, you know, different ideologies. But why don't we talk a little bit about that? I know I was telling you about a guest of mine who I haven't even put this, you know, a guest of mine who I just interviewed, who's doing work in health literacy, you know, being able to take, you know, the patient information that, you know, is usually printed out with prescriptions on this,
Mm-hmm.
you know, 3 pages of, you know, information that probably no one ever reads, you know, and he's putting that in a video format, you know, that's easy to digest, easy to take in. And, you know, you you know, you have experience, you know, with health literacy, and you're passionate about that as well.
Yeah. So if anyone who doesn't know, health literacy is the art. It's an art of taking very complex health knowledge and making it very easy, user friendly, so that people can make better decisions about their health, or be able to do the things that you would like them to do. And oftentimes in dentistry, we use really big words, mumbo jumbo, and patient has no idea what they're doing, and they leave feeling really confused and they don't get care. And so something I really focus on is spending the time to educate my patient, be it be on Twitter, be on Clubhouse, on Instagram, or even in my chair. I spend the time to teach you every little aspect that you need to understand your own health.
Right.
And that way, our patients, even if you don't get the care from me, you left me with knowledge. And I think oftentimes providers try too hard to get the patients to do what they want, instead of just allowing the patient to come to their own conclusion. So some things I do is, in my office, we have huge TVs everywhere, and we show videos. Like Dr. Ellis has these things called the Tooth Talks, where she breaks down like hard to understand dental topics. And then we also show you, we take pictures of your mouth and point out to you the calculus buildup you got. We show you, I play games like let's find the cavity together, and we show you what it looks like. And so no matter where you go, no one can you can be like, show me the x-ray, show me the pictures, and you can start to get an idea of what's going on in your own mouth. And I think that's why people choose to get like treatment with us, is because I educated them enough that they're making that decision themselves. They don't feel pressured into it.
Right. That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome, because even, you know, taking that into medicine, pharmacy, what we see is that a lot of times patients don't really know why they're on whatever medications they're taking. They don't understand the importance of staying on their medications, you know, their chronic meds, for example, you know, if they have diabetes, hypertension, high blood pressure, or cholesterol, blah, 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 you know, they might feel like, hey, they they are on this medication, they took it, and they're fine now, you know, and either the diabetes should be gone or the whatever should be is cured now because they took this med. And it's like, no, it's chronic. You have to continue taking it, you know. But we see that a lot, and that's something that we battle with, and that's something that, you know, definitely there's opportunity for pharmacists, physicians, you know, dentists, everyone, you know, to really help educate their patients as to be able to buy into their healthcare and be, you know, not just this paternalistic model where the doctor is telling you, hey, you need to do this, you know, and you're okay just doing it, but you don't know why. You don't even know why. And so because you don't know why, you're not going to stick with it.
Yeah, something that I implement now, or I've always done since I've been a physician, not a physician, I'm a dentist, whoops, is the feedback mechanism. So if you ask a patient a question, you ask them, so say I would say, okay, so tell me what you just understood from what I just said, or tell me what are the top 3 things that you are going to do now to better care for your teeth. I make them tell me it back in their own words. And I think that's something that's very critical if you're a healthcare provider, that if you're not doing, to start doing, so that you understand. Because listening is one thing, but processing and it coming back their mouth is a whole nother. And so once you can say it back to me, that's how I know you actually heard what I was saying. So that's a good little tidbit.
Nice. Thanks for the tips. As we wrap up, this has been such a great talk. Are there any, if you could leave the listener with maybe one last gem of, you know, this is something that the biggest thing that you've learned maybe in, you know, up to this point, you know, the one lesson, the one, you know, you've gotten past the, you know, you're not smart enough, you're not worthy enough to be here, the imposter syndromes, the, you know, racism and the microaggressions and X, Y, and Z, and now you're here. You know, what are some of the what if you could boil it down to one thing that you've learned that's the biggest thing that you wish if you could go back to your, you know, self in undergrad or in, you know, dental school, you know, you could go back 10 years ago, 15 years ago and talk to that, you know, Joy from back then. What would you say?
I would just really tell them that the more trials, tribulation, and failure that you go through, the better you become as a human. If you become afraid of trying, if you become afraid of the pain, if you becoming afraid of failure, you are doing yourself such a big disservice. And so I would just tell myself, continue to fail. Like, I love failing. It's I'm not afraid to fail. And I'm a very, you know, Haitian people tend to be very strong-headed. Like, that's me. Like, I would repeat something and fail it over and over, and I knowing that I will be better in the end. And I just want to tell people that it's okay to fail. You don't need to be perfect. That's how you grow. And just giving yourself the grace to fail and get back up again. So if you do fail, being nice to yourself, not being hard on yourself, and going and doing it again. And that's how you really grow.
Okay, it's awesome. It's awesome. Fail often and fail forward. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Thank you so much. This has been such a great, you know, time and talk with you.
Thank you. It was so fun.
Yeah. And, you know, we didn't even have to necessarily, you know, go to, you know, my notes so much or anything. We just kind of flowed. But for anyone that wants to maybe see, you know, see your page, you know, reach out to you, X, Y, and Z. Do you want to put that information out there for your Instagram?
I do respond to DMs and whatnot. So again, it's at Dr. Joy, DrJoyy. And all my info is there. I have a link tree there. My office is on there. I have toothbrush recommendations and all sorts of silly stuff. So check me out. And if you have any questions or comments, I am open. But yeah, this was so fun. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming on. This was great. We covered so much, you know, from politics.
Yeah, and I normally don't put my whole life story out there. So yeah, so this is cool. So I like most people think I grew up like a rich princess. So
this was amazing. You know, you have to talk about it sometimes.
Yeah,
being able to really, talk about where you come from. You know, it helps you to appreciate, where you are now even more.
Exactly.
So that's awesome. Thank you so much again for coming on. It was a pleasure. It was a great talk. And for everyone that's listened and you're staying with us to this point, thank you for listening. This has been another great episode of Highlighting Greatness with Visaya. Thank you and have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.